Greetings, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. It is a dull day today. Welcome to my channel. I must start with that. My name is Nyamaka Osilla. It is a dull day today. It's been raining for a couple of days. But you can sort of see the sun coming out somewhere up there. And I'm wearing sunglasses because I've got an eye infection in this eye. So, that's why I'm wearing sunglasses. It's not to say that there's strong sunshine, of course there isn't, but when I did come outside this morning, I found that whatever rays of sunlight that there wasn't too good for my eye. And I'm yet to go to the pharmacy to buy some eye ointment. I have to go right into Freetown for that, because I was able to buy eye drops at a local pharmacy, but I'm a bit worried if what it says on the tin is what is in the container. That's what I'm worried about. So I just don't want to be dropping things into my eye when I'm not sure about the contents of the eye drop container. I'm not sure about it. I'm not sure if it is what it says it is. What I need are antibiotic eye drops, but I don't know what they've got in it. And although I did buy it, I feel as though I have to be cautious and not just put it into my eye. And that says it all really about Sierra Leone in many ways. We're allowed, or the country at large is allowed, to just do things without anyone checking or to make sure that what they are doing is authentic and is allowed, is legal, or all of those things. So we really are at the mercy of God, if you like, you know. It is it's a little worrying. It really absolutely is, because what we have, it's just chaos everywhere. Nobody checks on anything, you know. And I don't want to lean too much on healthcare because that's been my profession. But in healthcare, for example, you would find it very difficult, very difficult to find a group of professionals who are paying attention to detail, because that's what it's all about. It's about attention to detail, making sure that what you're doing is how you should do it, and checking to ensure that you're not endangering lives or putting people at risk in any way, that sort of thing. It's a bit difficult because they don't put the things in place to ensure that those practices are followed through and that they are done. They just do not. It's a system of bullying, basically. Which is I feel like the entire country is just a system of bullying. You know, people on top bully people at the bottom, and the people at the bottom just bully whoever they can because they need to get by. They need to steal stuff. They need to, if you get workmen to come in and do something in your house, whatever it is, they need to steal stuff off of you because it seems as though that's the only way that people can survive. You cannot survive on your own merit. Do you know what I mean? By something you've learnt in your head, or you can apply, or be educated in, or have had an education in, that you can apply to make a living. You're not allowed to do that. It seems as though what you're allowed to do is just have the floodgates open for you to do dishonest stuff, and that's the only way that you can earn something to make a living. Whereas I think that if things were done just a little bit of a little bit of control, a little bit of control, a little bit of authority, proper authority, not authority that means nothing and has no substance to it. You know, proper learning and authority and systems and good practices and management to ensure that we have a non-chaotic situation in this country, a country that is not as chaotic as we find it today, because people simply cannot do the right thing. They're just not, they're not allowed, they're not taught, they're not guided, they're not directed or anything like that. I remember about a year, a couple of years ago, when there was some commotion in the main teaching hospital in Freetown, and the Minister of Health swooped in. They sort of bore down quite heavily on some doctors. They were threatened with losing their jobs. They, you know, there was no compassion, there was no listening to people. Somebody was manhandled and so on and so forth. So they literally just sat on that incident and it went away because, you know, everyone was bullied. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's the pattern. That really is the pattern in the entire country. Um, just day before yesterday, I was going down the road for my walk, and I bumped into some people who live in the village. And I said, "Oh, I'm just looking for somebody to spray something on the roof. You know, I've got something that I bought. And if you spray it on the roof, it makes the roof a bit stronger." Do you know what I mean? Because, like, in the same way you live anywhere else in the world, during the rainy season or before the rainy season, hopefully, you have to think of ways to be able to protect your property, you know, protect the house, do things that you should be doing. And so I got some sprays, and I thought, if I spray, I can hear a little tick 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 somewhere that might protect that bit of uh, the roof where it is. And the folks who sat there that I was talking to ask them if they knew a man who could climb up there and just spray this thing for me. The conversation then degenerated into an almighty argument about the fact that if somebody were to come, they'd cause more damage than it was worth for me to have them up there to do this small thing. And the older lady said, "Oh, I don't want such and such a person going to her house because I'm sure he's going to do this." And then the other gentleman said, "You have no right to mention people's names because you're giving them a bad name." And bear in mind, I didn't have a clue who they were talking about, but that's just the culture of the country is to, if somebody is doing the wrong thing, if they are engaged in poor practice, you mustn't say anything because that would put them in a bad light, or that would make other people think things about them that isn't nice. Do you know what I mean? And I say nice in a way that, because I'm struggling to find the right word, but it would make people think horrible things about them. Let's just put it that way. And that is the essence. Again, that is the essence of some of our problems, that we cannot face the fact that this is a decaying country that has no rules, no regulations, very poor standards, and all of this is facilitated by people on top, and it trickles right down to the ordinary people that there are in society. So it doesn't matter where you go, because people are not accustomed to people behaving properly in terms of their profession or their jobs or their day-to-day lives. You will find every kind of incident that there is that's wrong. That's not right. And I'm not talking about following Western lifestyles or pretending that you're something else when you're not. Um, you can still do what is right and what is proper and what is respectful in your own context, within your own culture, without having to jump on the bandwagon of anything that's abroad is right and anything that's, in this African context is not so good. You know what I mean? You can still earn a good living by being an honest, decent person who's able to work hard and fulfill the right things that you need to fulfill, in terms of living a proper life, without it being that you've learnt it from outside. That these are the points I'm trying to make, and then people again, the conversation goes right back down, and some people want to sort of make themselves out to be such and such because they have lived in this or that country. And I'm saying to people, take a step back and think right through to what it was, to what life was before, and how it was we lived, and how it was we responded to each other, and how it was we respected each other, and how people could um, join the join whatever groups they wanted to join in society, social groups or political parties or whatever it is, without becoming enemies. And the fact that we could respect each other, to believe what we wanted to believe in, and be on the side that we wanted to be on, without it being, if you're on that side, you're an evil person, and if I'm on this side believing this, I'm an evil person. you know so I mean, these are very sort of complex things, um, for people to break down here, I think, because the lack of self-esteem and self-respect is just so huge, and people don't think much of themselves. They don't think much of their communities, and that's why, cleaning around where they live and getting rid of litter is such a huge problem, because they don't want to live in nice clean surroundings, because they don't feel themselves that they are worthy of living somewhere where it's nice and where they can enjoy life with their community or their family, or their children. So all of these things are very important, and it's good that people think about these things a little bit more carefully. But I think that in the absence of good leadership, it's very, very difficult to teach people, to teach the communities, to teach the nationals. There are certain things in life that you have to do. It's like a contract. It's like having a contract, isn't it? You have to fulfill certain obligations for you to be able to live the sort of life that is worthy of 2023 and of the time and the place that we're in now. So quite a lot going on. Obviously, there's elections coming up next week. At the moment, I feel like the whole situation is characterized by intimidation. The whole sort of political atmosphere is characterized by intimidation, people being locked up, violations of the law, threatening sort of atmosphere. You feel like, oh, well, I can't go out because I don't know whether people are going to be marching out today or whatever it is that they're going to do. I don't know. So it's very unstable. It's very unsteady, how things are playing out. And a lot of people are complaining that they haven't got access to basic amenities, electricity, water, and it's bang 2 weeks before elections, and I'm just thinking, all of these things are not indications that prosperity will ever come to Sierra Leone. If people are repressed, people feel that they cannot speak their minds, or that life is so hard for them that they're not able to get the basics in life. And when I say basics, I mean like, you know, electricity, water, unable to get transport to go from A to B. Education is actually quite dismal. It really is absolutely below the belt. Whew, poor. It really absolutely is. Um, if people feel that they cannot get food, that's another huge issue. I've lost count the hundreds of children I see on a day-to-day basis. They look so hungry. They look so much in need, and you just don't even know where to start with these things. But if people put the nationals in such a situation that life is so hard for them, and they literally cannot do anything to haul themselves out of that desperate situation that they find themselves in, then these are not going to be good found. In fact, there is no foundation for prosperity. It's no foundation for progress, or for lifting people up, or for encouraging businesses to come into the country, or anything like that. In fact, when people come into the country, what you find is that you'll have a host of people following them, young people trying to fleece them, rob them of money, of their possessions, always trying to get money out of them. Any of the seaside places you go to on the peninsula, there's always people after people who are different. If they're Europeans, there's also people after them. Oh, I'll do this for you if you give me £10 or 10,000 or whatever it is. I'll do that, or I'll do the other thing. And all of these things are such a dampener for the country. So Sierra Leone is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful country. The scenery is unreal. A few weeks ago, I went on holiday to the Gambia with some friends, and the Gambia is set up for tourism because it's used to getting a lot of tourists in. They don't mess about with that because they know that's what their livelihood depends on. So they do everything they can to ensure that people have as good a time as they can in their country, and that is something that they do fairly well. Um, but the Gambia is nothing like Sierra Leone in terms of beauty. Sierra Leone is beautiful. Nobody needs to do anything. The hills, the sea, the beaches, and it's not just on the Western Peninsula. If you went into the country, the forests, the south of the country, even the beaches there, people don't even know about because they're the south. It's the south of the country, and not many people go down there. The big lakes and all of that. Beautiful, beautiful country. And I was listening to a YouTube video where somebody in Nigeria was talking about expansion of tourist attractions and areas in West Africa, and they mentioned how beautiful Sierra Leone was. Well, that's all we have in Sierra Leone is beauty. The mismanagement has gone on of the country has gone on for so long that it's virtually impossible to see what the way forward is. And people have all these good ideas. None of them bear fruit because mostly, I don't know, I think that they're not well intentioned. And I think that not enough goes into these ideas to make them happen. At the bottom of it all, you have to have compassion in your heart and your actions for the people of Sierra Leone. And I feel that that's very much lacking. What I see is a lot of people scrambling to take stuff that doesn't belong to them, but belongs to the people of Sierra Leone, and they are making ways for themselves over and above what it is that they could ever have made in their own lives. So that's where I'm at with all of this. I think that life isn't easy. I think that some of these things happen deliberately to keep people poor and to keep people who might want to come and live here out of the country. Because the more you have people who can come in and demand that the country should be like this, or that there should be a better life here for people, the more difficult it is for them to get to just do what they want. Do you know what I mean? So I think that people returning and living here, or people are already here who are sensible, being part of that, act as a conscience, if you like, for the country and the way that the country is being run. I really do think they could do that. So it's well worth thinking. It's well worth thinking. I think that for many, many years, some people have not lived in Sierra Leone because they've sort of felt Sierra Leone is beneath them. They've sort of felt that whatever's happening here, they shouldn't be part of because they're better than that. And I've heard many people say things like, oh, if I were to go to Sierra Leone, I would be killed within the minute, or I would be, somebody would, do this to me, or whatever it is. And it's stupendous, isn't it? Because you think, well, I mean, I don't think you have that power. I don't think you're that important, really and truly. But if you think just on what you alone can say, that'll make the whole thing sort of, I don't know, change, or that you will be locked up. Yeah, well, there we go. I don't think so. Particularly for some of these people aren't even the sorts of people that talk about Sierra Leone on a regular basis. You know what I mean? Like, they just think that if they were to be here and they said something, somebody would arrest them. For what? So people are more likely to focus on people who are constantly giving their ideas and their objections to things that are wrong, or to issues and practices and happenings that are clearly wrong and illegal, as opposed to somebody coming in and saying one thing or the other just because they've come from abroad. People just need to take a step back and just reconsider themselves. And I think that sometimes we have such an inflated opinion of our own importance. We are all human beings at the end of the day. I don't understand. So if you're minded to live here, you've got to just like buckle down and get on with it, and forget about your grandiose ideas of how it is with you and who you are and who you're not. I think that people have to like just be part and parcel of life and society, and make changes where you can, make a difference where you can, influence what you can, even if it's just 5 people that you can reach out to and hopefully encourage them to do certain things, and be motivated in a way that will benefit them and their families. I think that's okay. Not many people are going to be able to influence thousands of ordinary Sierra Leoneans, because the ordinary Sierra Leonean doesn't have access to the internet, to be honest. And here, more and more every day, people are rebellious about the use of English and foreign languages. They are. And I can see why they are, because people use these things to put them down and make them think that they're not worth much. So they are rebellious against it. At the end of the day, it's not their language. So why shouldn't people speak their own language? And why shouldn't they be able to perfect their own language? Why should they be able to speak another person's language 100%? And of course, I know that English is a language and international language, and it's used in education and stuff like that. I tell people that. I tell people that in classrooms when I was teaching about a year ago. And I used to say to people, I have said to people over the years, you need it to be able, you need to be able to be good at it to pass your exams and to achieve, things that you may want to achieve on an academic level or professional level. There's no way you're going to get out of it, because that's the path of our country. That's the history of our nation. But in their personal lives and their day-to-day lives, I don't know why their own languages are not encouraged. I mean, I would hope that it would be possible to have a situation as in East Africa, where they have Swahili, and that is spoken across most of East Africa and Central Africa. But that's just what I'm thinking. Perhaps out of this dislike for English language and being forced to learn it by any means necessary, or people laughing at them because they can't spell this or they can't spell that, or they're not using the proper grammar or diction or whatever it is. Perhaps out of that will come a need to have a language that all of us can use, and across our region, and be happy with. Perhaps, let's wait and see. I'm sure many things will happen. Of course, many things will happen after we're gone, after our time in this world is finished, and we move on to the next level of non-life. I think that our world, our region, will change significantly in many ways. Perhaps some of us might be lucky enough to see the beginnings of some of it, but yeah. As I sit here, I just think about how this country was when I was growing up, when I was at school, and I can see the changes today are just phenomenal. They really are, and I would expect that that would continue. The only thing that's worrying is the fact that we still hold on to two political parties, and that people are still being fooled by politicians and taken advantage of. But we are a young country. I mean, in terms of development phases, we are a very young country, and we haven't had, the background or the history the Western world has had in terms of going around for hundreds of years polluting, not polluting, looting, and destroying and destroying other people's terrain and people, and selling them as slaves, and capturing, you know, treasure and possessions to enrich their own countries and make their own countries the way that it is today. So we don't have that opportunity. Do we want that sort of opportunity? Perhaps we don't. Perhaps we're not that kind of people. Quite honestly, I'm pleased about that. But so the point I'm trying to make is that perhaps we still have a little bit more to learn in fulfilling what it is that will eventually become the sorts of countries that we would want Sierra Leone and other countries in the region to be like. Perhaps there's still more to go, and we can be able to achieve that in due course. Right, so I better sign off now, actually, because it's going to take an almighty time for this to download properly and so on. And I could do with going indoors and getting a drink now. But thank you for listening. If you are, I will continue my musings on YouTube. I think in one small way, it's something that will be there. Perhaps future generations can look at it, and they'll say, oh, that lady was saying something sensible at that time, and look at where we are now. Perhaps they'll be able to say that. I don't know, but it's worth putting your ideas out there. Yeah. Anyway, have a brilliant day, and thank you very much. And do please subscribe to my channel, please. Thank you. God bless. Let's see, what have we here? End stream. End.